you not get hyped to that? I mean, seriously, that music was the perfect choice. And I want to thank God for helping me to find it, because it was just searching and searching, to do an intro that's 40 something seconds takes, like, sometimes, in my case, 4.5 hours to put everything together and just figure out what you want, and it just works. So to the person that created that score, thank you, and I love it. Gets me hype in the morning, gets me ready to go. I am so happy to be here. I got my Jaguars wrestling shirt on now because we have wrestled with the roster and we now know who the 53 men are going to be. We also know the practice squad. Excited to talk about so many great things. You know it's Thursday, so what does that mean? That means it's the PJ takeover. That means Papa Joe has got a hold on this broadcast and he ain't letting go. PJ's here with us all throughout this morning, here inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Papa Joe and I will start with Major League Baseball, speaking about the races toward the postseason and where baseball currently is right now. There's some teams that are fighting like crazy to get those wild card spots, and teams that are jockeying to see who's going to be in what spot overall inside of the playoffs. So a lot of good stuff coming up with Major League Baseball. That's where we're going to go first. Then we will jump into the college football conversation, and PJ and I will make our first picks of the season. As you know, during college football and the NFL, which is 1 week off. So when it's college football week 1, there's no NFL. Then NFL week 1 will be college football week 2. We make our picks every single week, and we choose the games that we're going to go through, and we'll pick those games. We pick every NFL game, and then we pick and choose our college football games because there's many of them. So we'll have some fun here today and make our college football picks for the first time this season. So we have some history being made this morning, and then we'll round out the show with the Jacksonville Jaguars 53-man roster and their practice squad. And then I will be extending Wake Up Call this morning because the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer team has a game at St. Peter's today, and coming off of their historic first ever match in Division I play, which was on the road at Penn State and the Nittany Lions, I'm going to be talking with Callum Donnelly, who rejoins the show for an exclusive to speak with me on what he learned about the team, what he learned about himself as the coach, and so much more coming up as the team has 3 more away games before they come home on September 17th for the first time, which is actually my first 2 dogs' birthday, Mordew and Cinnamon. Shout out to them. So Callum Donnelly going to be part of the extension of Wake Up Call this morning to make sure we get that in before the match today. So with that being said, proud of you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you getting up wherever you are and hanging out with us. Maybe you've been up since 5:30. Maybe you just got up. Maybe you let us be your wake-up call. Whatever it is, we appreciate you being here, and we thank you so much. And with that being said, we bring in the man of the broadcast. That is none other than Papa Joe, PJ, Goso, the grand old smooth one, and the man who wrangles hurricanes for a living. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Real good, Daniel. Yeah, we dodged a bullet here. The hurricane stayed a little north of us, but we were prepared too. Mary likes to prepare herself. She goes outside and all of her projectiles she's got out by the pool area and around the house. She puts them away, and sometimes that's real important because when these winds start picking up 100 miles an hour, they can lift anything up and throw it through. But we also have hurricane shutters, so we were very well protected. And I'm so fortunate and thankful that the hurricane stayed north of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, that the hurricane, I mean, hopefully doesn't affect anybody in a bad way. We're hoping that it gets itself back into the water and dissipates and eventually ceases to exist. You know, that is the hope of when it comes to hurricane season, that these things just find their way to go away and to stop bothering people. So, you know, they really are unique. And when you see it out in the water, I mean, it's kind of breathtaking to see something that can be created in such a very, I mean, I don't know if there's a better word than unique. I mean, when you see it in the water, it's like, wow, you know, it's like a sight to look at that is so different, but at the same time, the destruction that it can cause is the other side of it. So we're hoping that you're safe. We're hoping that you're all being well, and that anybody that needs anything gets what they need. We're also still praying for Maui and for the people of Hawaii, as well as the families, which of course include 2 Syracuse offensive linemen, Kalen Ellis and Austin Cowhey. So we pray you're all doing well, and I know God is good, and I know He'll have your back. So just sit tight and do everything that you can to be safe. Take care of yourselves and know that your health and wellness is above everything. So just hoping that everybody's okay. I mean, it's a tough season, PJ, because when you live in paradise and you live in beautiful weather, there's always that other side of it. And, I mean, what do you do to keep yourselves? I know you talked about the physical things you do, but mentally and kind of emotionally and spiritually, how do you keep yourself calm knowing that you live in a beautiful place, but living in that beautiful place comes with its challenges?
Well, the challenges are many. You have to prepare yourself both physically and mentally, like you say. Physically, you have to be sure that your generator is working. You got to be sure you got at least 10 gallons worth of gas to put in the generators. You got to be sure you have a full tank of gas in your car in case you have to vacate. You have to close your shutters, hurricane shutters, which we have. Most people don't. So sometimes they tape up the windows, or they put just big 4x8 plywood up against the windows. You have to be prepared inside for flooding or outside for flooding. There's a lot to think about, and there's a lot to do. And then you sit and wait. That's the analyzing part.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any TV. You won't have any power probably, which is why you have to have generators working. And you're not going to have any satellite. Every time it rains, it knocks the satellite out. So we have a little small radio television that we have that brings in UHF news programs and pictures, so that we can use that. We can all use a radio with it too. We have flashlights throughout the house. Every room has a flashlight. Every room has that's about it. A flashlight.
Yeah.
That's about all. And we can sit at the kitchen table. We have a very large lamp that we put on the kitchen table that's used during the hurricanes. And you've got to be prepared food-wise. You got to be sure you have enough food to eat, and not a lot of food you should put. Sandwiches, things like that. Be sure you have water, especially.
Yeah.
Water is really, really tough to get when it's vacating. Well, if you go to if a hurricane is going to be 2 or 3 days before you go to Publix or Walmart or something like that, and the entire water shelves are empty. The Gatorade's empty. The breads are empty. So people take it seriously, and they have to. They have to. It's a very dangerous time. Fortunately, our house is in good shape because even though we have the pool and we live on the lake, our property's built up a little bit more than, say, my neighbors. So flooding is not an issue for us. But the weather that can be challenging for sure. You got to be sure that your trees are not going to fall on your cars. Now that I don't have any more classic cars, we have the Corvettas in the garage, and we have Mary's Chevy Excellence is underneath the carport, so that's protected. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to do. The preparation physically, I can help Mary a little bit, but she does it mostly. And Joe, when he's not working, will be over here to do it too. Physically, when you're our age, it's hard to do. And mentally, you just gotta check everything every hour. You gotta check what it's coming, where it's doing, where it's going. These things have a chance. They always have they always have their own agenda.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go north, sometimes they go south. But for us, the one thing we watch for is which way the jet stream is coming throughout the country. Because when the jet stream's coming from the west and the east, and the jet stream stays north, then this hurricane will probably hit us. If the jet stream stays south and the hurricanes come in, they're turned away by the jet stream. So a lot of times when there's an Atlantic hurricane coming right at us, we look at the jet stream and say, hey, we're going to be all right because it's going to take us going to take it north. And that usually happens. Most of the time it happens. And then, of course, when it turns west, it turns east. It turns northeast. It goes up into the Carolinas. And they get killed all the time, too. So whatever we don't get, they get. So it's a tough time. It's a tough time, especially for older people and people that are in assisted living areas. It's very challenging. Very challenging.
Yeah. Well, and we pray for everybody that they have the safety and they have the help and they have the assistance that they need to be okay. And like I said, above all things, that God's watching over you and that, natural disasters are not God trying to hurt somebody, as I know some people think. And I just pray that people are safe and that they have loved ones surrounding them and that they're able to get in touch with people and that things will be okay. So my prayers go out to each and every single one of you. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying well. And I hope you get whatever help that you need. So with that being said, you're in our prayers and we love you all. And PJ, to jump into baseball now, to take a look at the baseball world and what's going on in Major League Baseball. I'm calling it Major League Baseball's 11th hour because we are coming down the stretch. Believe it or not, September is tomorrow. And it is crazy that we have gone almost through this baseball regular season. We're hurling toward the playoffs. As of right now, Baltimore stays in first place of the American League overall, first place of the East. Seattle's in first place of the West. They're second overall. And in the AL Central, the Minnesota Twins are ahead there and third overall. If it started today, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Houston Astros, and the Texas Rangers would be making the American League wild card. Toronto, Boston, the New York Yankees, all within 10 games. And in the National League, the Atlanta Braves stay at the top. They lead everybody, and they lead the NL East. The NL West is led by the Dodgers. They're in second place of the National League. And the Milwaukee Brewers are in third place of the National League and in first place of their Central Division. Philadelphia, the Chicago Cubs, and the San Francisco Giants would be in if it started today. My Diamondbacks came out with some big-time wins over the Cincinnati Reds and the Texas Rangers, but then they've lost recently to the Dodgers, which puts them a half a game back. The Cincinnati Reds, the Miami Marlins, all within 3 games of that last wild card spot, and the San Diego Padres 7.5 back. A lot of teams are closer in the National League. Many teams, there's only 2 teams that aren't within 10 games of trying to get into this wild card. But this is where we are, PJ. We're coming down the stretch. So I proudly unleash you in talking about Major League Baseball's 11th hour.
This is where you got to pull off your jock strap. You got to strap it up because this is a tough time. To go over some of the things you said, that everything's been status quo. You did a good job explaining that. Most of the teams are out of it. Let's put it that way. I mean, the ones that are 1 game or half a game or 3 games out still have a shot. But the ones that have 8 or 10 games out don't have a very realistic chance of getting anywhere. What I like to concentrate on now is not who's going to be playing, but who's going to be playing for the teams and what's at stake for them. When you get this far, there's only about 30 games left in the season of 162. If you remember, months ago we were discussing how Tampa Bay started out 13 wins in a row and 17 out of 20 or something like that, and we were going to crown them the AL champs. Well, things have settled down for them quite a bit, and even in their own division, where the Baltimore Orioles have absolutely surprised everyone, along with your Zona guys. Baltimore is for real, folks. They are for real, and they have really just crushed the American League East. Boston and New York and Toronto, as we knew them before, have better teams than they do this year, and they're not playing very well, whatever they have with. That's another subject. And so Baltimore's up there, and they deserve it. They earned it. And what can you say? I mean, it's great. I'm going to go through some stats here I think that are important. when you're leading the division going down the wire here. I like to go over the complete leaders of home runs, LBIs, batting averages, things like that. So we'll discuss that for a little bit and start with the American League batting averages. Yandy Diaz from Tampa Bay has a 327 average. Bo Bichette, 314. Ohtani is hanging in there at 307. Remember last week I thought there was a chance that Ohtani could get the Triple Crown. Possibly, not likely, but him being on it, him not pitching anymore, which is absolutely catastrophic to American baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone would have loved to see this guy pitch and bat and just play the game like no one's ever seen before. Home runs, he's leading in home runs at 44. There's no one else really close. RBIs, you got Kyle Tucker of Houston at 97. Adolis Garcias from Texas has got 97. Ohtani is sitting at 95. So home run wise, he's in good shape. RBIs, he's probably got to do a better job. But if the other teams are playing Los Angeles and they don't want to lose to Los Angeles, and Ohtani comes up, do some damage, the old manager is going to hold up 4 fingers, say walk in the first base, and he won't get a chance to bat. But what can you do? In pitching, Chris Bassett from Toronto has got 13 wins, along with Kyle Gibson of Baltimore and Zach Eflin of Tampa Bay. Those 3 guys have been that way for the last 2 months. Garrett Cole's sitting on 12. Garrett Cole is probably the most valuable player of the Yankees because they have such a terrible team. And I'll get to that in a minute, too. Earned on average, you got Sonny Gray of Minnesota at 2.92. Garrett Cole, there's that name again, at 2.95. Let's go to the National League, and you'll see some things pretty similar. As soon as I get my screen up. Remember Luis Arraez from Miami? We were talking about him being batting 400. Well, he's leading the league at 349, and he's probably not going to hit 325 for the rest of the year. That being said, you got Freddie Freeman sitting behind him at 338. Ronald Acuna, who is Atlanta's most valuable player, at 324. And Mookie Betts at 316. Mookie Betts is coming on like a barn. He is really killing it, both home runs and batting average-wise. My pick for the National League most valuable player is Matt Olson, who leads home runs. Atlanta, he's got 43. Alonso's at 37. Kyle Schwarber's at 30. Alonso's at 39. Schwarber at 37. Matt Olson's also leading the league in RBIs with 112. Pete Alonso's the closest guy at 96. I think he's wrapped that up. He hits pretty good, too. I think he's hit about 275, something like that. So I think he's the leader for the most valuable player. American League, we got to discuss that. In pitching, Spencer Strider of Atlanta has 15 wins, tied with Justin Steele of the Cubs, got 15 wins. Zach Gallen of Arizona, Charlie Morton of Atlanta, Deion Walker from Philadelphia all have 14 wins. ERA, Blake Snell, 2.60. Blake Snell from the San Diego Padres, who used to be with the Tampa Bay Rays, and they got rid of him, or they traded him, or whatever. Didn't sign him. Always happens. And Tampa Bay loses a bunch of players so they can make more money, which is more power to them. Then they come up with players the next year to keep playing. Yeah. Amazing. Justin Steele, Chicago's got a 2.69. Strikeouts. Spencer Strider, Atlanta's got 236 strikeouts. Now, to get back what I was talking about earlier, there are a bunch of guys that can come together and absolutely dominate. We have seen Atlanta run through the league pretty well this year. They got the best record. They're the best team in baseball, bar none. No argument for me, but anywhere. They're the best team in baseball. Now, of course, they have to play if they get through their playoffs, they got to play a really tough American League team. We don't know who that is, but there are several candidates. But the Braves, besides Matt Olson leading in home runs and RBIs, the Braves as a team lead the league in batting averages. They lead the league in on-base percentage, and they lead the league in home runs. That's besides Ronald Acuna hitting 3 home runs and stealing 60 bases, which has never been done before. So we'll see how far Ronald can go. The Braves also lead the league in ERA, bullpen ERA. So whatever your poison is, you can't get the starters. You ain't going to get the bullpen either. So what can you do? It's a great time for baseball. It's fun to watch it. I don't think there's going to be any surprises left in the standings. I think whatever we see, we're going to get. But there's not going to be the only one that surprises me, as I have to say this now, is Seattle has just stormed to the front on the American League West. They're in front of a really good Houston team and even a better Texas team. So you know how good Seattle's playing. I don't look for Seattle to go that far. If they're lucky enough to win the division, which are only about a half a game up or something like that, if they're good enough to win the American League West, they're not going to get very far because they don't have it all. Houston has it all. They have pitching and batting, and pitching and batting, and Texas has the same thing. Both of those teams signed future Hall of Famers Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. So coming down the stretch, you're going to see those guys throwing some more innings. Right now, they're kind of resting a little bit.
Yeah,
that's about it, Daniel. I mean, there's other things we can discuss, but you discussed some of the teams that are a disappointment. The ones that are good are good. The ones that are supposed to be good ain't good.
Yeah.
And that's the Mets and the Yankees. And both teams, not the Yankees decided after trying to find a way to win, now they're going to start dumping some of their guys. They just released Jack Donaldson, who was the MVP in about 2016, when he was in Toronto. And he wasn't even at 200. He's gone. And there are other candidates that need to be gone too. I think Mike Stanton doesn't deserve to be there. He's barely hitting 200, although he's got 30 home runs and 50-something RBIs. But the guy doesn't stay healthy. Someone has to play baseball besides Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of really, really, really good young players. And they got a really good farm system. So don't be surprised that over the offseason, they get rid of some of these other guys that are too old to play, at least at that level. One of my favorite players for the Yankees is DJ LeMahieu. And 2 years ago, I said that he was the best player the Yankees had. 2 years ago, he was. This year, he's just a marginal player. But he along with Judge cannot carry the offense of that team. They got to have better guys. They have the young guys that got to step up. The kid Volte, who came up as a 21-year-old shortstop for the New York Yankees, and he starts the season as the shortstop. Monumental, unbelievable, great story. Kid's from New Jersey, too, so the people can watch him play. And he's hitting something like 20 home runs and 55 RBIs. Even though his batting average is only about 215 or so, he's come a long way, and he's going to be the face of the Yankees going forward. They're going to forget about Derek Jeter when this kid starts getting going. He's only 21 years old, though. That's it, Daniel. We can talk about other things if you have something I can comment on.
Yeah, here with Papa Joe this morning in the PJ Takeover every Thursday on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, talking about baseball and the, heading toward the postseason. Of the teams that are still fighting, of the teams that are still in this hunt for the wild card, when you take a look at this, PJ, who do you think has if you had to give somebody the best shot with the Toronto Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox on one end, they're within 6.5 games in the American League, and then in the National League, Arizona, Cincinnati, Miami, all within 3 games. Miami's 3 games back, Cincinnati's 1. Arizona's a half game. They've literally gone from the second wild card team. They've gone from the third wild card team to the second wild card team to just out. So Arizona's been right there in the National League. Do they make it? Cincinnati, Miami. There's teams that are really, really close and pushing this thing. So who do you think has the best shot when we're talking about the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Diamondbacks, the Reds, the Marlins. Who do you think has the best shot of squeaking into this thing?
Because of the way that Tampa Bay plays the game, they've got 82 wins this year. I mean, that's super. I mean, Baltimore's got 83 wins and leading the division. But, Tampa Bay's, they're up 6.5 in the wild card. They're in my opinion. They're in. They're not going to back up. Kevin Cash won't let them back up. He plays baseball the right way. He scrambles, hit and runs, home runs, pitching, defense. He plays it the right way. And Tampa Bay will be there. I think Houston and Texas, they're just too good not to be there. Toronto's on the outside looking in, only 2.5 behind, but Toronto doesn't have the pitching that Houston and Texas does. I like the way the setup is now, the way the graphs are showing us now. I would assume that Tampa Bay, Houston, and Texas should be able to make it there. And if not, the only one that can really knock them out is Toronto. Boston, forget about it. Yankees, forget about it. Cleveland, goodbye. On the National League, you mentioned Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Milwaukee are leading their divisions, which is correct. Atlanta, as I said, is the best team in baseball. Not too far behind are the Dodgers, 83 and 49. Now, the proof's going to come in the pudding. This weekend, Atlanta is playing the Dodgers in a series, 3-game series. I don't know where it is, either Atlanta or, let's say, I can't remember. But that will really determine how good these teams are playing against each other. In the wild card division, you got Philadelphia 5 games out or up, Chicago 2 games up, San Francisco even. Arizona, frankly, has a shot at it, Daniel. They do, but they don't have enough pitching and defense and hitting. They're a good team, but I'm sorry, I can't put them in there. Cincinnati is a different story. Cincinnati's got a real good team. They got the most exciting player in baseball right now, Ellie De La Cruz. They're only 1 game out. Miami, with their pitching, is only 3 games out with a losing record. So, you got to look at Philadelphia in for sure. I think the Cubs. I don't like them as much as I did earlier. One of the races, Marcus Stroman, pitching is down. He's not going to pitch again, I don't think. Cisco's been marginally better than last year, and not they don't blow my skirts up either. Arizona, it's got a chance. Now, keep in mind that Arizona is not one of the favorites in any situation. However, they have played well enough this year to be included in this type of conversation. Now, Arizona probably won't make it, but they're going to give it a good shot. They do have some excellent young baseball players. I think they have a decent farm system. So if push comes to shove, and they say they wind up 81 and 81 this year, wins and losses, that's a 500 record. Well, hell, let's have a lot better than they did last year. So the 2 teams that are really surprising this year are Baltimore, I didn't figure at all, and Seattle, forget about it. I didn't think that at all. And Arizona is one of those teams. So those are the ones, I think this graph show are pretty good. I don't think that there's going to be too much movement. Philadelphia's got a really, really good team. And of course, they got Bryce Harper and his crew, Trey Turner, and those guys can hit the heck out of the ball. So Parker hit his 300th home run last night or yesterday afternoon or something like that. I watched that game. That's it, Dan.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting coming down the stretch. But like you said, Seattle, who would have thunk Seattle would be where they are right now, as well as the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks putting themselves in the position that they're in right now. I'm a Diamondbacks fan. Been my favorite team since they came into the league. And, I'm looking at everything that they've done this year and had a great start to the season. Typically, they struggle to play a full season well, and they've been able to do that, I don't want to say they played a full season well. They played a really good first half of the season, and then they kind of dipped coming out of the All-Star break, and I was concerned that I was going to see another tale of 2 halves of the season, but they were able to surge back late. Now, if they had taken care of business a little bit earlier, they would be sitting in the seat right now, not San Francisco, and it would be a better situation. Right now, they got to run the gamut, and the Arizona Diamondbacks have a hard ending to their season. They got a bunch of series that are really difficult to play. They were able to get the Reds and they were able to get the Rangers, which helped to put them in, but then they had to play the Dodgers and they struggled against the Dodgers as of late here. So, as we look at the Diamondbacks and the series that they have to finish things out, the Diamondbacks coming up on the schedule, I mean, this is the issue. So they played a 2-game series against the Rangers and got both. Then they played a 4-game series with the Reds, got 3 of 4, but they just played a 3-game series with the Dodgers and they lost all 3 of those. Now they have to play the Orioles. And so, this to me, it's a really difficult schedule for them because they're playing a lot of teams that are already in the postseason if the postseason were to happen today. So you lose 3 to the Dodgers. Now you got to play the Orioles 3 times, but it's at home. Then they got to play the Rockies, who haven't been good this year. Then they got to play at the Chicago Cubs, who's another team that is in a place right now that is right ahead of them. So that's a good game to have. Then they play a 4-game series at the New York Mets, who haven't been good this season. Then they'll take on the Cubs again, San Francisco. They'll be at the Yankees, at the Chicago White Sox, and then the Houston Astros. So you're looking at series against the Houston Astros, San Francisco Giants, Chicago Cubs, and Baltimore Orioles, all teams that are currently in the postseason if it started today. And you're playing some of the best teams in the league. The Dodgers and the Orioles are arguably, in the top. I mean, the Orioles are the top team of the AL, but the Dodgers, even though the Braves are so good, a lot of people would argue that the Dodgers from year in, year out, the last 3-4 years have been the best team in baseball. So playing these games this late in the season, if they do make the playoffs, it will be heavily earned because the Arizona Diamondbacks have to run a gamut in order to get there.
True, but they're not going to do it. They're just not good enough. When you play the good teams, that's a good measuring stick for your team. Even a 3 or 4 game schedule.
Yeah.
But it proved that the Diamondbacks are getting better, but they got knocked out by the Dodgers in 3 games. So if they want to use that as a measuring stick, they have to look and see what the Dodgers have, who are the best team in baseball outside of Atlanta. It's too bad that Atlanta and Los Angeles can't play right now because that would be the World Series to me. But they're both in the same league, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, we still have a run here. We still have time. There's still opportunities for some teams out there. Before we take a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life in the Papa Joe takeover. PJ, give me your thoughts on the Yankees and the Mets and what you feel like happened this season for both of the New York teams. These teams play what's called a Subway Series, and this year it's fitting because both of their teams are stinking like that New York City subway.
Well, in the Mets case, they didn't perform. They had one of the best players in baseball, Francisco Lindor. He started out not playing well at all. Orlando was doing well. Then he broke his finger or something like that. He had to take a month off. He's come back and hit well. But besides McNeil, there's no one else in the lineup that can really cause the other pitcher to cringe. They're just not there. And pitching, they've totally fallen apart. And they had, remember this, folks, at the beginning of the year, they had 2 Cy Young Award winners and automatic Hall of Fame pitchers, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, and they couldn't pitch them through. Look, when you're that age, little things happen to them. And Verlander and both of these guys are perfect when it comes to putting themselves together and getting ready to pitch. They have no weaknesses. They're still fast at almost 40 years old. They all got wicked breaking balls, and they got great changeups. That's how you win ball games. And those 2 guys didn't come through that's for whatever reason. It could be the manager. It could be their training program up there, or maybe their preseason program didn't go well. But when you got to dump 2, not 1, but 2 future Hall of Fame pitchers, you know that you didn't do the job. Now, the Yankees, on the other hand, besides Aaron Judge, and he was out for 2 months with some broken something, there's no offense. You heard me say earlier that DeLeMahieu is still playing, but he's in his mid to late 30s. And even though he was the best player a couple of years the Yankees had, he can't carry them. He's just not overall good enough. DeLeMahieu is so valuable to the Yankees. He can play any position, but catcher or pitcher. He plays them all. But there's not enough DJs around or Aaron Judge around. They got some good young kids coming up, like Volpe and his crew, 2 or 3 guys that were in the minor leagues earlier. The Yankees need to purge. They just need to get rid of the guys that are hanging on, like Stanton. And, DeLeMahieu is another one. That if you're going to go young, you might as well go young all the way. Keep Aaron Judge happy. Put the rest of the guys in their early to mid to late 20s around him, and have some good pitching with Garrett Cole. That's what they need to do. Now, Garrett Cole, I've seen him get pissed off a few times this year after watching him. He's not happy with his offense, that's for sure. He's 12-4 with a 2.9 ERA. I mean, he's done everything he can to pitch the Yankees forward. But they had a couple of other pitchers like Severino. He flamed out. He almost pitched a no-hitter, but it's not there. I mean, it's not there. Look, in order to win in baseball, you got pitching and defense, period. If you have good offense, that's great. But pitching and defense usually carries you through. Yankees don't have either, except for Garrett Cole.
Yeah, and it's a question that has come up multiple times. It's something we said at the beginning of the season. People said to me early on in the season, what's wrong with the Yankees? And I said, simple, pitching. And at the end of the season, what's wrong with the Yankees? Pitching. And what's been wrong with the Yankees in recent history? Pitching. Because this whole thought of I'm going to out-hit somebody, it's not going to happen. You're playing against the Astros, you're playing against the Dodgers, depending on where you are in the grand scheme of things. When you're the Yankees and you jump into the playoffs, you have to play against teams like the Astros. You have to play against teams like the Tampa Bay Rays that'll throw a bunch of pitchers at you. And then if you make it farther than that, you got to play the Dodgers. You got to play the Braves. You're not going to out-hit everybody. And when you play against these really good teams, they can beat you 2-0, 2-1, 1-0. They don't have to beat you 13-11. I think the Yankees have really just, of course there's multiple things that go into stuff, but the reality of it all is the Yankees struggle season to season in recent history because they don't have good pitching. They might have a good pitcher. They might have a couple good pitchers, but they don't have a rotation that is going to win them a World Series. And why they don't understand that is beyond me, because you have talent. You got talent, but you don't have the pitching rotation to withstand the tests of the Dodgers and the Braves and the Astros and so on and so forth, and the Rays. You just don't. And I think honestly, it's a simple fix, but it's like the definition of insanity. The Yankees refuse to improve their pitching. You can't have one ace in the hole and then a bunch of threes. If you're holding that in any type of card game, you're not doing that well. You got one ace, but you're not going to get a full house. And that's what I think is the issue with the New York Yankees. I mean, PJ, tell me if I'm missing something and I'm wrong, but I feel like you got Garrett Cole, and then you might have a guy here and there, but they don't have consistency and rotation. And I feel the same way toward the end of the season that I felt at the beginning of the season. They don't have enough to withstand a series against a really good team.
No, that's proved out over the year, too. Tampa Bay certainly can beat them upside the head just about any time. And when Baltimore, even coming off last year's terrible team, when Baltimore comes in and sweeps you too, that's not good. So everything we've said is correct. And it's going to be up to the management and ownership to do something. Of course, when you talk about the salary cap, who's number one in the American League? Of course, it's the Yankees. It's something like $235 million for cap, some ridiculous number. They got to purge some of these old guys and guys that are not moving out. Go with the young guys. Get under the market cap. Bring in some pitchers. Call up some pitchers if you have to. The last 30 games of this year are going to say a lot for where the Yankees are going forward. If they're going to release Josh Donaldson like they just did, then they need to release Stanton and DeLemayhew and some of these other guys that are in their mid to late 30s not doing anything. So it's simple, really. But the fans just don't care for that. They want to see players now. They want to see DeLemayhew play. They want to see him play different positions because he's that good of a player. You want to see Chud because he's going to hit home runs. But who else is there to watch? Besides, every fifth day you bring out Garrett Cole, who's a killer. But he gets pissed off. I mean, there was a little situation with when they played Tampa Bay this last week where a couple of players were hit, and they had both dugouts came out. You know, they talk a lot, but no one was hit. And who was the first guy out of the dugout that had to be restrained? Was Garrett Cole. Now, Garrett Cole ain't a small guy. He's 6'5" and 240 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he started rushing in there, and he didn't need to do that. So a couple of his guys pulled him away because if he got involved, he could have hurt himself. I mean, so, you know, let some of the scrubs get out. So Garrett Cole when he was pitching for Houston, he was almost unbeatable just about every fifth day. As the Yankees, he's doing okay. I mean, he's been with them a couple of years now. But he still leads their team in pitching. When you think of pitching in the Yankees, Garrett Cole is the first pitching to think about. And the only person right now to think about. And you don't need him running out there trying to throw punches when he's the only guy that can win for you. So that was fun to watch, though. You know, everyone puffs up their chest and they get in the middle of the field and they're all milling around and the umpires are trying to separate the teams. Happened twice because they're throwing at guys. And Tampa Bay says, well, we're playing the last place Yankees. That's who we're playing. So that pissed off New York even more. So anyway, that you're right about everything. And pitching and defense wins in this league and in the National League especially. And let's see what the next month brings. Maybe I can have I'll look up some of the players in the farm system that could possibly help the Yankees. What the Yankees don't need to do is they don't need to go out after any more pitchers and pay $200 million for 6 years of some also-ran guy. They don't need to do that. He is built from within. If you need to find another starter out there that's reasonable that you could bring in to go with Garrett Cole, that's reasonable. But don't keep throwing money away on some of these older guys that are not producing in the later years. Just because you sign a contract doesn't mean that you don't have to be gone. If you sign a contract, you got to play up to your best. And frankly, the Yankees are not doing that.
No, the New York Yankees, the Mets, the Mets, then the Yankees, believe it or not, folks, how time has changed from old man Steinbrenner. The Yankees don't spend the most money in New York. The Mets do. And so the Mets have the highest payroll. The Yankees have the second highest payroll. Yet the teams at the bottom, the Rays and the Orioles, are the ones heading to the playoffs. And that should say something to you, right? It's not just about spending money. It's about where you spend the money and the smart spending that you have. You know, a lot of people can be rich, but are you savvy? And right now, the Orioles and the Rays are savvy, while the Mets and the Yankees are rich with nowhere to go. We'll take a step aside on a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, we'll shift gears to college football. Week 0, which is very strange, is over. Now it's week 1, because allegedly week 0 didn't happen, but it did happen. But we'll talk about it, and then we'll make our picks. College football, there's Syracuse playing Colgate, and there's LSU playing FSU. Some teams are playing games like bowl games. Other teams are playing games like a pickup day on a Saturday, just for fun. Week 1, to some, is huge. Week 1, to others, the games seem not as large. But no matter what it is, football's back. You better be in the seats, whether you're sitting at home or you're at the stadium. College football season is back, baby. And we'll be back right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to have you here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out where sports meets life. We got PJ on the dial right now, and why do we have him here? Because it's Thursday. And when it comes to Thursdays, Papa Joe and I have the opportunity in football season to make our picks, and make our picks we shall. But before we get into that, PJ's got a little note here on the horse racing world, and I'd love to get your thoughts, PJ, so fire when ready.
Well, this last weekend was a monumental day for Saratoga when they had something like 5 or 6 Grade 1 stakes, including the Travers, which paid $1,250,000. There are some problems in horse racing right now, and it's not something that everyone doesn't know about. It's just they don't understand it. So I try to explain it the best I can. Last week, 3 more horses died at Saratoga because of, quote, catastrophic injuries, unquote.
Yeah.
When that happens, catastrophic injuries means that the horse has to be euthanized on the track. Not in a backstretch, but on the track, hauled back in a trailer, laid down, and puts to sleep or wherever they do with horses they kill. Now, of course, with that being said, PETA, which is the People for Effective Treatment of Horses, the PETA animals, they're lining up at the gate with their picket signs and everything, and they're going crazy. They want Saratoga or Naira to look at the track and do this and do that. They got to change this. Well, Saratoga's only got 5 or 6 more racing days, so leave them alone. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the track. The jockeys got together, and the management called them up, and they say, give us some help here. The jockey said, there's nothing wrong with the track. The track is fine. The dirt track is fine. The turf courses are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them. But these horses continue to break down. Why? Because they're being pushed past their limits. When you see a horse galloping down the stretch, especially coming around the 4th turn, is usually sometimes what happens when they snap a right forward, like, you know, it's just too much pressure. 1,100 pounds on those spindly little things. You got 100-pound jockeys on them. They're not going to hold up. So it's tough for me to say this because I love horse racing so much. But there's a time for what I want to call a national board of directors or a national file of people that can run every single track nationally. But that's hard to do because each state has different rules and regulations, and they have different requirements for medication. And I don't think that can happen. But Mark Case, who was a Hall of Fame trainer, races in both Canada and the United States, he says, quote, "I'm not proud of the horse racing now because there's too many things that are happening that are detrimental to the sport." When he races in Woodbine, they have 3 different surfaces up there. Yeah. Not a lot of tracks have this. One track is dirt, of course. One course is grass. And the other is called Tapeta, which is a mixture of whatever. You know, they tried this experiment 5 years ago in Miami. Some tracks like it, some tracks don't. There are a few tracks around the country that have 3 courses: dirt, Tapeta, and grass. Now, some of the pundits are calling, "Oh, let's get rid of dirt, just have Tapeta and grass racing." Well, the breeders go crazy when I hear that, because when you buy a yearling or a potentially great stallion, a lot of it's because of dirt racing, not turf racing. So you're gonna put the breeders out. You're gonna make them all pissed off too. There is I think there's no answer for it. I mean, each track has to they have to have a really sharp track superintendent and walk the track just about every day and look and see if there's a prep. You don't ride it. You walk it. That's how you do it. You get 3-4 guys, they form a line, and they walk all the way around the track. Now, when you're dealing with Saratoga or Belmont, some of these big tracks, that's 1.5 miles surface, but you got to do it. And there's several guys that you can see during the races, when they're not racing on the turf, you'll see guys out there walking it, see if there's any stones come up, or someone lost a horseshoe or something like that. You know, it's critical. It's critical. that racetracks have to be perfect. In NYRA's case, folks, there's nothing wrong with the racetracks. I applaud that you are picketing them. I applaud that you're behind the people with ethical treatment of animals. That's okay. That's fine too. But you can't just chastise a whole organization or a trainer just because they lost a couple of horses. You know, these guys love their horse. These horses is money for these guys. They're not gonna abuse anything. You know, those horses making money. Do they step over a little bit? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Do they try to slip something in and that the other guys don't have? Yeah, they do. They do that too. So until they're caught, and then they go, then they're kicked out. So
yeah,
look at several years ago, horse racing was in trouble because the casinos were running. The casinos were not paying any percentage to the horsemen who they were at their track. Now, since then, the horsemen have been receiving a share of all the proceeds from the gambling, from the casino side of a racetrack. Most every track now has, they're called casinos now, RACINO, racinos. And they're pushing money toward the purses. Now the horsemen are running for more money than they've ever done, mainly because all these tracks have casinos, and the casinos pay to the purse fund. Is anyone watching the races besides the Saratoga? No. You don't go to Miami or Houston and look at their races. People aren't there. They don't want to do that, but they do want to see good racing, and they'll go to OTB and they'll go to their satellite outfits, and they'll bet the horses. And the purse structure is very important to these guys. These trainers, they'll pick up and move at the drop of a hat if things are not going right. No one's going to be leaving NYRA, believe me.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, I mean, it's a horrible thing to see this, and I mean, to see horses have to be put through this, and the damage that, you know, that can do to the sport itself because of the sadness of this, right? You know, and you hear things about greyhounds when greyhounds are racing, and so I mean, you just hope that there is ethical treatment of animals, obviously. And, you know, you want people to go and enjoy this. I mean, have you seen a time where there's been this many horse deaths where a horse had to be put down? I mean, have you seen, can you go back to another season of horse racing where it was this prevalent?
Well, you don't, normally tracks don't put that kind of information out there.
Yeah.
But the state racing commissions do. The one that comes to mind is about 5-6 months ago, Churchill Downs had something like 13 horses die. Really, way too many. And that was the one that really stuck with me. I'm thinking to myself, what are the horsemen going to do now? So what does PETA do? And there are people that want to see this change. They actually went to the racing commission in Kentucky and they said, listen, look, Churchill needs to look at their surfaces. This isn't going right. We lost 13 horses. So what does the racing commission do? They call up Churchill Downs and says, we're going to suspend your racing for the rest of the meet, which was about 3 weeks left.
Yeah.
And Churchill Downs he says, well, you know, why? And they know why. So the rest of the days were moved to a small track in Kentucky called Ellis Park, and they raced the rest of their horses at Ellis Park. Now, when Churchill Downs opens up for the fall meet, they have a small fall meet, and then they wait until the spring for the Kentucky Derby. Everything has to be done right. Every track has to be perfect. They don't have Tapeta there, but they got dirt and they got two courses for grass. So they're going to be under the gun. And NYRA, of course, when Saratoga ends, there's about a week lull before they go to Belmont. But Belmont is being worked on right now and can't race. They don't want to race anything. So they're moving their meet to Aqueduct because the Belmont Park is doing some refurbishing. New York Racing Association, or NYRA as they call it, has an unlimited amount of money to spend. They're state-owned. They make a lot of money. They make a lot of money even without the state-owned because they know what they're doing. But I don't think they're going to change their horses at all to put a Tapeta down. Folks, you have to look up the Tapeta, Tapeta, and look up what the definition for Tapeta is. It's just a bunch of dirt and stuff thrown together. It's better than dirt and better than grass. I don't know what it is, but that some people say it's more successful and others don't. Norman Cass, who's the guy I just mentioned earlier, he says less than 1% of the horses are breaking down when racing on Tapeta. And he knows because he races. He's been racing for years, for over 40 years. He's a first-class guy, no-nonsense guy, and he's pissing some people off now because he's stating something, and it's true. But when he says he's not proud, and this is a guy that makes multi-million dollars, he says he's not proud. People got to listen. So the racing commissions were all over every state in this union has a different racing commission. They have different rules and laws and medications. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one to handle. But Churchill Downs is under the gun right now.
Yeah. You know, I mean, hopefully they can get things figured out because the safety and prosperity of these horses is important, right? You want these horses to, people breed them to use them for money. And, you know, the horse has to have some type of a life beyond that, a type of a life thereafter. You know, some people talk about it and they say, oh, they just, they breed the horse and this is what the horse does. And so, they don't need a life because the horse was bred to be this and this only. And I think that that's wrong. I think, it's still a horse, still an animal, still deserves respect, still deserves to be taken care of, and still deserves to have some type of life outside of all of this. And if you're going to use the horse to your advantage, well, then you got to make sure that at the end of their career, the horse isn't at a disadvantage. It can't be a one-sided thing. This is the thing about life in today's world. A lot of people are transactional. They just go to people like banks. Give me something, ATM. And when they're done with that person. Then they go to the next ATM. Until they realize that they run out of ATMs because they pissed off enough people that all their bank accounts got locked. So the transactional side of things is what I would like to see go away. I know these horses have a job to do, but they also have a life to live. And that life should be protected. With that being said, PJ and I will take a quick step aside. We'll be back with college football and our picks right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognize that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was, selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of Where Sports Meets Life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning. If you're not, we're going to make it better, and if you are, we're going to keep it going. So welcome here, and continued prayers to everybody in the path of any of these hurricanes or any bad weather or anything going on. If you need a prayer, you got one from us. So yeah, I'm going to say a quick one right now, if you all oblige me to do so. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, I want to thank you for all the blessings that you've given us. I want to thank you for the fact that we're alive today. A lot of people take that for granted. As soon as they wake up, it's back to complaining. So thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for giving us the life that we have. The adversity may be hard, but adversity builds character and eventually builds who we are. So may we trust in you, have faith in you, and though there are things out of our control, help us to handle well what is in our control and what is not. Help us to keep our faith, keep our hope, and to always be surrounded by blessings, and for nothing to be too big for us to handle with you. May we be healthy, may we be safe, may we be happy, and may we be filled with your gifts to do your will and be well today, tonight, and so on, which I pray are long, fun, and go by slowly. And may we do well with our time. Thank you, God. I appreciate you. And amen. In the name of... And Espiritu tu all. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. With that being said, it's college football season. And with it being college football season, there's some big-time games coming on. Elon, Wake Forest. Uh-oh! That's a big old game. So this is, and obviously we're making some jokes here. We're having some fun. But the schedule for college football, folks, it's all over the place in week 1. Now, we saw week 0. USC took down San Jose State. Wow, that was a challenge. Notre Dame beat Navy. I said they would beat Navy 40-3. I like Navy. I just impartial on my predictions, right? I love Navy in the comfort of my own home. My grandfather's in the Navy. My great uncle Carmen, who just passed away recently, was in the Navy. God bless them both in heaven. I had Navy, though, in that game specifically, losing 40-3. They lost 42-3. Jacksonville State, that had beaten FSU in recent history, they took down UTEP 17-14 at home. UMass beat New Mexico State. Look at UMass starting off the season with a win. UMass, typically a team that gets 1 to 2 to maybe 3 wins a season. UMass won 41-30. San Diego State defeated Ohio. Louisiana Tech defeated FIU. And Vanderbilt defeated Hawaii in Vanderbilt 35-28 in a close game. So, tonight, that's right, baby, tonight, Thursday night mother freaking football. We got Thursday, Friday, Saturday football here, and Sunday and Monday. The college football season, week 1, will have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday football, folks. Tonight, there's games that start at 7 p.m. all the way to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I know Papa Joe's going to stay up and watch Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and Tulsa, and I know he's going to be really into Southern Utah and Arizona State. I know he's got it. What the game he might watch tonight is Florida at Utah. playing each other again, this time on ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. PJ, let's start with your Go Gators. Florida's playing Utah in Week 1 on ESPN on a Thursday night. Your thoughts?
I don't feel very well, Daniel. Very well. It seems like that Billy Napier had a very difficult first year. I know that.
Yeah.
And the second year, I don't see things coming together as I would like. We're going with a recycled quarterback, Graham Hurts from Wisconsin, and my brother-in-law's commented already there, says, "Hey, he throws too many interceptions."
Yeah.
Well, let's hope he learns from it. I know the Gators got a great two tandem running back. Travis Etienne's little brother is running for them, and he's a killer. But I don't know. If Cam Rising plays for Utah, it'll be a rout. But if he doesn't play, then maybe the Gators got a chance. I don't have a good feeling about Florida's season this year. And frankly, if last year was 6-7, if this year was 7-6, I'd take it. But if this year's 7-6, Billy Napier's out the door. So goes with the territory of one of the most powerful programs in the nation, and that's Florida, with all the money and with all the recruiting. I hate to say this, but I think Utah wins this game easy too.
Yeah, I got Utah in this one as well. So PJ and I, and you could see on your screen on Facebook.com and YouTube.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, as we make our picks each week, I'll be writing them in on the board just like a teacher would in school. So we're going to be writing these up here, and we got Utah over Florida in the first game that we're picking here. This is Thursday Night Football, folks. There's a ton of games on tonight. If you're needing something to do, you got 11 games to watch tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. PJ, let's look at another one here. So Florida at Utah is the only game with a ranked team tonight, which is Utah, ranked 14th in the nation. We'll skip the actually, you know what? Let's go with this one. Nebraska at Minnesota. We got PJ Fleck at Minnesota. He took Nick Monroe right after the bowl game from Syracuse to Minnesota. Nick Monroe, somebody I got a good relationship with, coaches the DBs, and people seem to like him on the recruiting trail. Nebraska's got another guy, Matt Rule, head coach that I covered when he was at Temple. Then he went down to Baylor, then to the Carolina Panthers. So it's his debut. No more Scott Frost. Matt Rule and PJ Fleck, Nebraska at Minnesota. What do you think?
This is a tough game. I know that Matt Rule is doing the best he can over there in Nebraska. He certainly has enough money to get his team up to bet. I think he's got enough recruiting to go with it. But I do like Minnesota because of Fleck. I think he's done a great job wherever he's been, and this is no different. I think that Minnesota runs the ball really well, and I think they're probably going to run right over Nebraska.
Yeah, I got Minnesota in this one as well. I think that there's, just too much to separate. I hope that Matt Rule does some good things there, and I hope his season goes well, but I'm going to have to go with Minnesota in this one to defeat Nebraska. I think Minnesota has some talent that people don't always look to or respect because they're in the Big Ten and they get lost in the shuffle sometimes. So I got them winning this one. Friday, September 1st, we have less games. We have a few here. PJ, I'm going to have you pick a fun one here. Miami of Ohio and Miami, the Hurricanes. Miami University versus the University of Miami. Your thoughts?
Well, this should be a runaway if Miami get their stuff together. Mario Cristobal down there, and I like Miami, the University of Miami over Miami have. I think Miami will have just a little bit outclassed on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Miami, the University of Miami, the Canes in this one as well. How about this one? Louisville, who has a new head coach, and Georgia Tech, who has a new head coach. So we're taking a look at two teams here that are going to be, in new eras of their football program. No more Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech. We now will see a new face at Georgia Tech and a new face at Louisville. As in a shocking move, in my opinion, the Cincinnati Bearcats, when they lost Luke Fickell, went and took the head coach of the Louisville Cardinals, who looked like he wasn't really all the way into being there from the beginning. So you have Brent Key, the head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and then for Louisville football, with their head coach moving forward, and that was just a weird relationship. Now you have for the Louisville Cardinals, you have Jeff Brom. So Scott Satterfield decided to go over to Cincinnati. It's crazy, some of the stuff that I thought Scott Satterfield was in a place where from the beginning there was a chance he was going to get fired within a couple seasons. Definitely, up to this point, but then he ends up leaving for a better job, in my opinion, and Jeff Brom takes over. So these are two head coaches that are new to leading their programs. Louisville at Georgia Tech, what do you got?
Jeff Brom used to be the quarterback of Louisville, and he threw the ball all over the park. And I think he's probably going to adapt that same type of mindset here. I think Louisville is going to be reminded of the days of your man Lamar Jackson. And I think Louisville wins this game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick Louisville in this one as well. I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals just because I think, Georgia Tech's been through a lot, right? Paul Johnson was there, covered him for a really long time. And Paul Johnson and I had the opportunity to talk about a lot of different things. He obviously ran the triple option, and, then that went away with Jeff Collins, who was trying to recreate Georgia Tech and make it something totally different. It didn't work out. He also wasn't given a ton of time to do it. So now, they move forward. I think it's going to take some more time. And I think Louisville, I don't know if this will be a great game, but I think Louisville is going to be okay. I honestly think, passing wise, they'll put on a little bit of a clinic here. I think that they win easily in this matchup, and we'll see where they go from here in this new era. Louisville changing head coaches a lot more often than I think Louisville fans would want to see for sure. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one. Saturday, September 2nd, a lot of games coming up. Tennessee, PJ, do they trip up against the Virginia Cavaliers or no?
No, Tennessee's probably going to be one of the favorites this year in the SEC. Certainly in the East, where they got Florida and the rest of these guys. Tennessee's going to be really good this year. I think Josh Heppel's doing a hell of a job up there, and he's in this recruiting class. Right now, his 2023 recruiting class, I think, is number 6, sitting behind Florida State at number 5. So he's doing a great job on the field and off the field. Tennessee.
Yeah, I got to go with Tennessee. Josh Heupel, another coach that I had the opportunity of getting to speak with for a couple seasons when he was at UCF. So happy for him. Definitely rooting for him. I thought Tennessee was arguably the best team in football multiple times last season. And so to see them have the opportunity to start off this season fresh and hopefully have a shot at the college football playoff is a really good thing. So I'm going to go with Tennessee in this matchup against Virginia. Even though I like Tony Elliott, I'm a fan of his, becoming a fan of his for sure. He's a man of God, and I definitely appreciate the conversations we've had the last couple of years. So I look forward to covering him, and ultimately I'm going to go with, I have to go with the Tennessee Volunteers in this matchup. Looking down the line here, PJ, there's a bunch of games where you kind of just scratch your head a little bit here, but I want to go to this one just because I'm excited about it. Buffalo at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, always ranked in the top 25, always ends up not being ranked in the top 25, never makes the college football playoff. But Wisconsin, ranked 19th in the country at the time we're talking, is facing off against Buffalo. And the Buffalo Bulls starting running back is a good friend of mine who went to CNS in Central New York, went to Cicero North Syracuse, was not recruited by Syracuse, not respected by Syracuse, and he had the second longest run by a running back in the history of Buffalo last season on a 92-yard scamper. The man had over 600 yards rushing last season, and he's got plenty of time. Mike Washington Jr. and the Buffalo Bulls will go to Washington. What are your thoughts? Or Wisconsin, pardon me. What are your thoughts?
this Wisconsin's going to control the ball, and your man won't be able to touch it that much. Now this is a mismatch, Daniel.
Well, I'm going to put Wisconsin for this, but I hope that my guy Mike Washington Jr. gets in the end zone. I hope they make it interesting. And beyond anything else, as we talked about in our exclusive sit down in my studio just a few weeks back, it's going to be a lot of fun for the team. So I'm looking forward to that as well. What'd you say?
I got a game.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to rant about it too. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, you got to hear me out.
Yeah.
Colorado with TCU.
Yeah?
All right, now we know what's happening in Colorado.
Right.
We know that Prime is over there, and he's done this, he's done that, he's done this.
Prime time.
Urban Meyer, as you know, who's not one of my favorite people, he actually said something was pertinent this week.
Yeah.
He said, what's going on over there, quote, is the ultimate experience, unquote. Now, what Urban is saying is, folks, this is some kind of experiment because Prime has got 75 new players he never even heard of before coming to Colorado. He recruited them. He's got it coming in for transfers, and it's actually, in my opinion, it's given everyone a black eye. But what Urban is trying to say is, if this works, then all the ADs and all the football coaches in the country are going to be clamoring for, get me more transfers, get me more transfers, get me more transfers, and then it's going to turn into a real mess. So as much as I like Prime, I think he's a motivator. I don't know how much of a football coach he is because he really had pretty good athletes there at Jackson State. But I don't like what's happening there. And I've read some comments from some of the players that have left.
Yeah.
Prime is he's all business. I mean, he is stating what he wants. He says, listen, if you want to play for me, go jump into the portal and go. Okay? I advise you to go because you won't be playing for me. So, I mean, you're a kid, 19, 20 years old, and you hear this from your head coach and say, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Prime wants his own players and brought his own quarterback, his son. So I think he gets squashed here at TCU, but the Prime experiment, I'm all for the college kids getting a little money here and there. The NIL is helping them out a little bit. If maybe perhaps somewhere down the line that the ADs will come up with some money for these guys that play football for the school. But what Prime is doing is not in the best interest of football, believe me.
Well, it is an experiment, but the thing that is interesting here that people aren't talking about is South Florida. Half of their team is new, with Alex Golesh being the new head coach there. And when you look at Charlotte and the 49ers and Biff Poggi, they have at least half of their team is new. So when you talk about, having 60 new guys or 70 new guys, Prime's not the only one. Prime's just the one that people are focusing on. And so, it is going to be an experiment, right? This is going to be an experiment. Some teams are doing it because they have to, right? Some schools have to do it. Charlotte has been at the bottom of the barrel. So they have to find a way and figure something out. South Florida has been irrelevant for the better part of this last decade. These last 5-6 years, since Quentin Flowers, they've been irrelevant. They really have been, which is sad to say because South Florida is one of the teams I cover and I enjoy my time with them. But obviously, they've made a lot of changes, and ever since Willie Taggart left for Oregon, it hasn't worked out over there. And so for people that want to rip on Willie was the only one to make it work in South Florida in recent history. So, I think there are other teams that are doing this, and they're trying to figure it out, right? Some teams, like I said, have to do it because the players didn't want to play there. The players saw the coaches leaving. The players didn't want to lose anymore. So they've decided to walk away. And now we're in a situation where people have to get creative. And you have to think about that, PJ. Think about having a 100-man roster and having to replace 70 spots. Think about that and how crazy it is. And if it doesn't work, having to do it again the next season. Having to replace your first string, your second string, your third string every single year. That's what the transfer portal has presented to us. It is a possibility. It can happen. And I think that in this experiment, some people are doing it because they have to. Maybe Prime's doing it because he likes the challenge. But there's other schools that are doing it, like Charlotte and Buffalo and the Bulls down in South Florida, because they have to. And we'll see how it goes. But sometimes it helps to blow up a bad environment so that you can create a new one, right? Sometimes you have to dismantle the old stadium so you can get rid of the asbestos and build a new one. So we'll see what happens here, and we'll see how it works out, and we'll see if it happens well for some of these teams out there. Going back to the games here, though, let's go to Colorado and TCU, because I circled this one. Is there any chance that TCU trips against Prime?
No.
I love when I ask you some of these questions, and I love that every season I can look forward to a couple no's. Where we just we have this conversation, and I'm like, hey, PJ, do you think this guy's going to make the team? No. But TCU, Sonny Dykes, I'm a fan of his. I covered him when he was at SMU. Did a good job there after Chad Morris moved forward to Arkansas at the time. And I was kind of sad, knowing that. Well, I was actually really sad because Chad Morris had finally gotten them to a bowl game. They finally looked good. SMU is the only football team that ever went through the death penalty. And I thought it had still affected them from like 85 to that time period. So for him to bring them back the way that he did, I thought was great. And then he leaves, and I'm like, okay, so what the heck's going to happen to this team now? But, by the grace of God, they end up with Sonny Dykes. And Sonny Dykes did a phenomenal job. He did a phenomenal job against TCU. And then TCU was like, hey, we don't want to play against this guy, so we don't want to coach against this guy, so let's go get him. And now he's at TCU, and dang it if he didn't have himself one heck of a season last season in his debut. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year. I got TCU. I've always low-key, been a fan of the Horned Frogs, just kind of watching them and seeing them. So I'm excited to see them on Fox this Saturday at noon Eastern time, and excited to see what they could do this season. All right, PJ, we're going to go down the line here to a few more games. Got a couple more that I want to throw at you here. So how about this with Biff Poggi? Charlotte at home against South Carolina State. We know Clemson plays South Carolina and South Carolina State. What are your thoughts about Charlotte at home against South Carolina State?
Well, South Carolina State is one of those historically black communications. They don't normally field a good football team, average football team. They play with Bethune-Cookman and some of these other guys. I think Charlotte just has too much for them. This should be a mismatch, just because of the leagues that they play in. Just that's it, really, in a nutshell.
So PJ going with Charlotte, and I'm also going with Charlotte. PJ and I have gone exactly the same on all of our picks. Let's go to the last Saturday game that I'm going to hit here. It's at 4 o'clock. Colgate, not the toothpaste, Colgate is going to be playing up against Syracuse, and I mean that with love. People know that I love the Colgate Raiders. It's just fun, and I think they should, they just have fun with it. Colgate should sponsor all of their arenas, because why wouldn't you? They got a lot of money with the toothpaste. Colgate's got some really good programs. Colgate at Syracuse, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, on all the networks you can't watch. So ESPN Plus, ACC Network, Extra, or whatever the heck it is. It's a difficult way to watch the game, so you might as well just come out to the game. Tickets are as low as $4. It's like the same price of going to the fair. The fair's like $3. The game is $4. $4 to see a college football game. Do you understand what Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia fans would do if they could get a game for $4? They buy games for the next 37 years. Colgate at Syracuse, $4 game. It's going to cost you less than buying the ACC network. That's what's really sick about it. And it's at home here in the Dome. I'll be there at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. PJ, what is PJ's thoughts here? Let's get him back on the line. We lost him here for a second. But we have Colgate going up against Syracuse. PJ, what do you have?
Okay, of course Syracuse will win this game easy. But there's something to be said about crowds. I just read yesterday, or read it this morning actually, that Nebraska volleyball team, women's volleyball team, filled up their football stadium with 92,000 people to watch a volleyball match.
Yeah.
That's how rabid they are over there. But on this coast over here, who's going to watch Dino Babers suffer through this thing right here? If you think they may give the tickets away at the gate if no one's going to buy them for $4. This is terrible, Daniel.
Yeah, well, here we are. So this is what we got. Syracuse starting off.
Volleyball against football. Are you kidding me?
What'd you say?
Volleyball against football. Can you believe that?
Oh yeah, and Syracuse will never get 92,000 because first and foremost the dome only seats about 50, and we might lose some seating with the new seating. So we shall see. But Syracuse, man, I got them winning over Colgate, but I would really like for fans to start showing up to these games. It makes me sad for my hometown for sure. And for those of you that do show up, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. For those of you that stay to the end, win, lose, or draw, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. For those of you that show up for 3 quarters and leave and show the team that you're giving up on them, or if they're winning by a lot that you just don't care, they see you walk out, and I would rather you never come to a game again. And for those of you that don't come to the game and complain about the team, those are like people that complain about who won the presidency, but they didn't vote. Keep your mouth shut. So, those are my thoughts as we move forward here. Syracuse over Colgate. Sunday, we got 3 football games, PJ. Northwestern at Rutgers, Oregon State at San Jose State, and LSU against FSU. Who gonna do it? This game is going to be at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. The LSU Tigers and the Florida State Seminoles, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. Sunday night football before the NFL has their Sunday night football kickoff. Who wins it?
Oh, this is a first-class game and the very last game of the season. This game should be played on the last game of the season. This really, unfortunately, is going to go a long way for either one of these teams to win their conference. LSU is, up against it in the ACC or in the SEC. FSU has very little to compete against in the ACC. So it's LSU's more to lose for losing this game against FSU. But Brian Kelly I think he learned a lot last year. And if he thinks he saw speed last year, where do you see this Florida State team? This Florida State team is going to run up and down the field, Daniel, like it's nothing. And their defense is going to be hardy. FSU, I'm going to say this right now in front of you and in the whole world. FSU's got a very good chance of going undefeated. You heard that here at Papa J on August 31st. FSU over LSU.
Yeah, I got FSU too. You and I said it. Give the man 3 years. Let's see what he does. And we're talking about Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell, to me, was a fantastic hire by anybody. FSU, you got to steal. I told y'all to be patient and that good things would come. And I believe that exactly that is going to happen now. Being patient, good things will come. Don't you worry about a thing. And I think things are going to be all right there in Florida State. This man has had 3 seasons. And, when you look back at the COVID year, that was a weird year because Florida State didn't even play as many games as other people. If you're Ohio State, that means you go to the college football playoff. But if you're Florida State, it meant nothing. It meant you played fewer games than everybody else. So I think Mike Norvell's in good shape. I didn't worry about it for a second. PJ and I'm happy for Mike Norvell to prove us right because Florida State's been waiting a long time, and he's a hell of a coach. So, and a recruiter. Let's go Florida State over LSU. Let's have some fun with it. And I respect LSU, and I think Brian Kelly did a great job in his first season there, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I think it'll be a good game, be a primetime game, be a lot of fun. Won't be Wake Forest Elon, PJ, but it'll be close. LSU and Florida State. I'm going Florida State. Monday Night Football before we head to the Jaguars. Clemson at Duke because we got a game on Monday night. It's going to be on ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The number 9 ranked Clemson team, ranked lower than they've been ranked in many years. Number 9 Clemson at Duke. with Mike Elko, who had an awesome first season as the head coach of this team after working with Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M?
Well, he's going to wake up real soon here because Clemson's just going to smash him. The only advantage they have is that they're playing at home. But it's not that far enough away where Clemson can drive to Duke. It's not that far away. So Duke, this guy may have had a good season at Duke, but it whole changes today.
Well, and I think Duke will have themselves a good season. I really do. But ultimately, I'm going to have to go with the Clemson Tigers. I'm concerned for them this year a little bit, but I'm going to pick Clemson to win this game. So PJ and I, in week 1 of college football, picked all the same picks. So we're either going to be right or we're going to be wrong. Utah, Minnesota, Miami, Louisville, Tennessee, Wisconsin, TCU, Charlotte, Syracuse, FSU, and Clemson are our picks. I know Biff Poggi of Charlotte's going to be happy with us because the media, he felt, has disrespected his team. However, here on Wake Up Call, in week 1, we're picking you, Charlotte. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll come back with the Jacksonville Jaguars and their 53-man roster. It has been set. We know who's on the team as of right now. We also know who's on the practice squad. We'll talk about that right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the Whole Frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond. You can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. Those of you that were with us before the break know that we just made our first college football picks of the season, and PJ and I picked the exact same teams here, and that doesn't always happen. We don't know each other's picks before it happens. That's the cool part of this, is I have no idea where he's going. He doesn't know where I'm going. And so we have made our picks. We picked a ton of games here, and we will see, they're on your screen right now, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. And those of you on internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, we shared with you Utah, Minnesota, Miami, Louisville, Tennessee, Wisconsin, TCU, Charlotte, Syracuse, FSU, and Clemson are all the teams that we have selected to win this week, which has led us to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they have their 53-man roster. Their 53-man roster has been set. And right after the 53-man roster is set by each team, we get to see their practice squad. So we know the Jaguars brought in their practice squad players as well. But the 53-man roster is set here. PJ, I'm going to go through this roster, and I'm going to go position by position, and that's how we're going to talk about it to break it down. Quarterbacks, obviously. Oh, we got time for that. Yeah, because I'm going to go through like the whole offensive line as one. But we're going to just go through because some of these only have a couple guys. But quarterback-wise, we obviously know Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy. Behind him, C.J. Beathard. Now, there's a new rule where you can carry a third quarterback that the NFL has tried to institute here. But the Jaguars only have one, C.J. Beathard. Are you okay with the Jaguars having one backup?
No, because Rourke should have made the team. No doubt in my mind. Rourke should have made the team.
All right. That coming from PJ. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. Maybe they'll bring him on later on here. We'll see if he gets another opportunity. Running back-wise, we got 4. Travis Etienne, who's in his 3rd NFL season, but really his 2nd because he was injured as a rookie. We have Tank Bigsby, who's a rookie. Dearness Johnson, who comes over from the Browns, who filled in pretty well when Kareem Hunt and or Nick Chubb was hurt in the past couple seasons. And Jermichael Hasty, who came onto the team in a trade last year with the Niners, not making the team. Quadri Olison, whose brother, Keenan, plays for Alfred University, that I have an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with. Keenan is a corner for Alfred, and Quadri played for the University of Pittsburgh, so I covered him when he was at Pitt, and he unfortunately didn't make the team, which makes me sad because I was hoping that he would hang on and I would have some time with him this season. What are your thoughts on the backs in Jacks? Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Dearness Johnson, and Jermichael Hasty.
Well, Travis Etienne is the key, obviously. I mean, he's the one that's going to be playing the bulk of the time. The surprise here is Tank Bigsby. I saw a couple of his games. I saw his stats. I think this guy is going to be a big-time winner. He's going to give Etienne some, boy, can this kid run through the tackles? I mean, when they say Tank, they mean Tank. This kid's a beast. I really like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited about Tank. And I know some people are high on him. In our fantasy drafts, he's been drafted in every single one of my drafts. I finally was able to get him in the last one that I had. But people were going pretty high on Tank Bigsby. And so I'm excited to see him. Number 4, look out for him because ETN's not going to have all the carries this season. That's for sure, in my opinion. Wide receivers, like I said, they had a ton. Jacksonville had at least 11. They've decided to keep 7 of them. Calvin Ridley, who they got last year when he was suspended, brought him onto the team. He's a top 5 wide receiver if healthy, and I think if he goes out there and does what he does. Calvin Ridley's a danger. You got Trevor Lawrence, Clemson, throwing to Calvin Ridley, Alabama. Are you kidding me? So I'm excited to see it because this wide receiver core was good without him. Christian Kirk is back. Zay Jones, 2 of my guys right there. Another one of my guys, Jamal Agnew, who's utilized in many different parts, punt return, kick return. I think he should be used more in the backfield, quick pitches, because he's a short guy, quick, and he can do some good things, and he had a big-time play last year down the stretch. Elijah Cooks is a rookie who's made the team. Tim Jones in his 2nd year, and Parker Washington, who they also drafted. Your thoughts on this, PJ? Ridley in Jacksonville for the first time ever, Agent Zero. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew are back. Then you got 2 rookies and Tim Jones. Your thoughts?
Calvin Ridley is the one that's going to make this team go. This guy is so talented that folks really don't know how fast this kid really is. This kid is really going to stretch the field. You forgot the tight ends, by the way.
Oh no, I didn't. I went wide receiver. I'm going tight end now, PJ. Patience, PJ.
Yeah, it's a big one here. It's really going to open things up for Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is probably dreaming every night of 10 touchdowns a game by throwing to these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You know, some people dream of sheep. I'm hoping Trevor Lawrence is dreaming of touchdowns. So, tight end wise, Evan Engram, who's definitely, I liked him when he was with the Giants. Then he dipped a little bit, but I reminded people during my draft at the Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus this past Monday, I reminded everybody about Evan Engram when he struggled with the Giants. They had no offensive line. Saquon was out for the season, and none of their wide receivers were household names. So when you're the only weapon and your quarterback doesn't have time to throw to you and the team can't run the dang ball, then yeah, you're going to have a dip. And they're like, well, he needed to catch passes. Yeah, he did need to catch passes. So that'll be on him. But the other thing is, Evan Engram was a good tight end on a horrendous team. Now he's a good tight end on a good team. And Evan Engram had some good moments with Trevor Lawrence last year. And this might be the tight end that the Jaguars have been looking for in a long time because they haven't had a consistent guy. Luke Farrell, who they drafted in the recent years here, he's still on the team. And Brenton Strange, a very strange pick, to pun totally intended, that they drafted a tight end. And I believe they did it in the 3rd round this year to get Brenton Strange. But they see something in him. I'm happy that he's on the team. I'm excited to see him play. I just don't know why they needed another tight end. They kept 3, which means that Josh Peterson, Doug Peterson's son, was let go. Your thoughts, PJ?
Well, Evan Engram finally has a quarterback to throw to him. He probably lost all those years in New York because he was getting his ass kicked up there. But now he's got a quarterback that can throw to him, and you can see what he can do. For a tight end, he can stretch the field too. Runs away from the linebackers and beats up the defensive back. So he's a joy to watch too. Another part of the puzzle is going to make Trevor Lawrence's life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, this team, again, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of guys. They're putting a lot of pieces together offensively. That year they almost made it to the Super Bowl when I was with them all the way through. They had a really good defense. Now they got a defense that's been building itself up again. I think there's definitely some good pieces in this defense. I'd like a little more depth, but I think the defense obviously has some talent. And this offense is getting really good. The best it's been in a really long time. So with that being said, keeping to the offense, going down the Jaguars' 53-man roster, breaking it down with PJ, we have the offensive line, speaking here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I guess we can call this On the Prowl as we continue to have the conversation. Left tackle Walker Little, the man who stepped in last year wherever they needed him. Cam Robinson goes down, Walker Little. Jawan Taylor goes down, Walker Little. You didn't even know that there was a change in the offensive line, because that's how good he was. And put it to you like this, folks. Without Walker Little last year, down the stretch, the Jaguars may have not won their division, gotten into the playoffs, or won a playoff game. Walker Little was an integral piece of their success to show that the second string tackle could come in and immediately be effective, and there was little to no drop-off. Says a lot about his work ethic, his talent, and his belief in himself. Walker Little, you deserve to be a starter. You've earned the right, is a better way to say it. Walker Little, left tackle. Left guard, Ben Barch, who's been part of the team for a bit. Luke Fortner, who they drafted last year out of Kentucky, is their center. No surprise there. Brandon Sheriff, right guard again. Anton Harrison, a right tackle on the team. He was drafted by the Jaguars this year after they let Jawan Taylor go, and he ended up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyler Shatley is back. He's going into his 10th season, believe it or not. He can fill in at guard or center. Cooper Hodges is on the team as a rookie, and Cole Van Lanen is there in his 3rd season. Your thoughts, PJ, on a team that had so many offensive linemen in their training camp that for the first time that I've seen in a decade, they had depth at every position. They decided to have their obviously starting 5 and keep 3 other offensive linemen on the roster to have 8 on the 53-man roster, and they've obviously brought in some on the practice squad. Your thoughts?
This is a good one. Good offensive line. This is no joke bunch of guys. These guys can play. And, of course, Walter Litter is the star of this team. Frankly, last year I thought he could have played before Robinson and Jawan Taylor. Go.
So would that be? What'd you say?
Go Gators. You're supposed to say Gators, Dan.
Oh, I didn't. I thought you. I was trying to hit what you said again. Okay, so start it again.
Jawan Taylor, I said go. Anyway.
Gators.
Anyway,
Go Gators. I heard you.
Walker Little is the key here, and I think he'll be really the cheese that holds the pasta together.
I like that. The cheese that holds the pasta together. Go Gators. That's how you got to say Gator. You can't say Gator. You got to say Gator. You got to Gator. Guyter. Gator. So, but to get back into it here, the Jaguars' defensive line, as we switch to the defensive side of the ball, Davon Hamilton, he's back on the team. Roy Robertson Harris, he made it. Foley Fatukasi is back on the team. And we also have Adam Gotsis, who I love seeing him. I believe he's Australian. I interviewed him a couple years ago. And Tyler Lacey is a rookie who made the team. And Jeremiah Ledbetter, little new face there to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They kept 6 defensive linemen. And your thoughts, PJ, as they go heavy on linebackers who can be hybrid guys. So they don't need a ton of D linemen to strictly be D linemen. What are your thoughts with who they kept?
It's a good group. I like Devon Hamilton a lot. Someone's got to plug up the middle, though. One of these guys are going to have to sacrifice their body because Josh Allen and Trevor Walker are going to take care of the edges. But someone's got to stop it up. And look for Devon Hamilton to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that they have continuity here because the guys that they kept as projected starters were on the team last year. Next up, outside linebackers, Josh Allen. Not that one, the other one. And by the way, Josh Allen finally made a name for himself above the Josh Allen that we know with the Bills, where he was constantly in that shadow, and then he took it to Josh Allen. Then the people were like, oh, that Josh Allen. So the Jaguars drafted him. Hard to believe he's in his 5th season. But Josh Allen, he's a hybrid. Trayvon Walker, former number 1 pick last year. So we have Trayvon Walker here going into his 2nd season. Kaylavon Chasen, who comes from LSU, he's back on the team. And Yasir Abdullah is a rookie on the team. What are your thoughts, PJ, of, Kaylavon, we don't see a ton of him, but Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen, what did you think about Trayvon's rookie year? Because you and I had left a question mark there. And then Josh Allen.
I thought the Michigan State guy would be the better pick there. Hutchinson, that's his name. But he screwed out well. Josh Allen, in my opinion, hasn't played up to his potential. I haven't seen him really kill it. He's a good player, and frankly, no one's going to get outside these guys. With Allen and Walker, these guys are so fast in the middle they just need to make more plays. And Josh Allen, God knows he's got a brilliant body and everything. He's got it all. He just needs to go a little bit more, I think. I love the linebackers. Josh Allen and Trevor Walker can really turn the whole game around.
Yeah, so excited to see it. I mean, these are guys that definitely are really talented on the Jacksonville Jaguars squad. They've shown themselves. I think Josh Allen's gotten better with time, which is good. I think that, we've seen progression from him. We haven't seen like he started off hot and then he dropped off. And Trayvon Walker, people say, well, let's see some consistency. But there's also some good moments. And his debut into the NFL was huge last season, making some big-time plays on defense. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do next. And I hope Kaylavon has more opportunities out there, and I hope that he does the best with them. My favorite name on the team, inside linebacker, Foye Oluokun, back on the team. My guy Devin Lloyd, who I got a rookie card of recently here. Chad Muma. These are my dudes, man. Chad Muma, love talking with him. Shaquille Quarterman, covered him in college. And Caleb Johnson. What are your thoughts about the inside linebackers?
These guys are okay. Devin Lloyd, I love to watch him. Chad Muma, what did you say? Guy who never thought he could make I never thought he could play football, but the guy can play at this level is good. Devin Lloyd is the key here. This is a real good group of guys.
Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be, I think, one of the strong suits of the team, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do this season. But I mean, looking at the inside linebackers, Foye came up huge for the team. Devin Lloyd, who they didn't have to spend a massively high draft pick on, could be a steal for them. And Chad Muma, like you said, I mean, the guy didn't even know if he was going to get out there, and he has made himself. He was ready. He was ready. He's exciting. He's blue collar. He's fun to watch, and he's one of those guys that appreciates his opportunity. And I love seeing guys get those opportunities, especially on a team that I've loved since day zero. Cornerbacks, Tyson Campbell back on the team. We have Darius Williams, who comes back, did some good things. Greg Jr., Trey Herndon, man going into his 6th season, that has been such a great asset to them, whether he's playing or not. Wonderful to talk to. Just a super appreciative guy, humble guy, hardworking guy. I love that they kept him on the team. He filled in very well when Jalen Ramsey got traded during the season a couple of years ago. So I love that he's still there. I love him being in the locker room. Christian Braswell is a rookie, and Monteric Brown, who they drafted last year. Your thoughts?
Certainly Trey Herndon is the key to this group. He's an extraordinary athlete, an extraordinary person. So I look forward to him to knit these guys together.
And then we look to the safeties. Rayshawn Jenkins, the man who made that massive play against the Dallas Cowboys to get that dub in one of 4 of the best games I've ever seen in my life. And I got to see them. How about this? The Jaguars had 4 down the stretch, down the wire, incredible games that all happened at home, all in the same season. And I got to watch them all right from the press box. Thank God for that. And big time thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars for all of the years that we've been able to work together. Rayshawn Jenkins, he is so much fun to talk to. Look for number 2, y'all. He is good stuff. Another guy that bet on himself, banked on himself. 7th year in the NFL he's going into, and you know his name if you're a Jaguars fan. The other guy there as a starter, Andre motherfreaking Cisco. That man comes from Syracuse. The Cisco Chronicles continue. That's what I call my stories with Andre Cisco. Love talking with him. This man is a dog. They got him in the 3rd round. He was a steal. I think he could have been a 1st-round pick, especially if he had stayed healthy in his last season at Syracuse. Big fan of Cisco. Love that he made the team. Love that he's a starter. Love that he's put himself in a good position for his future in the NFL. And I love that Rayshawn Jenkins is doing the same thing. I hope it continues. Daniel Thomas has filled in well at times. Andrew Wingard. What's up, Dewey? Love that Dewey's still on the team here. Dewey's another killer out there that just loves playing ball. And Antonio Johnson's a rookie. What do you think about the safeties?
These guys are good. Andrew Cisco and my man, Andrew Wingard. That's it. These guys are good. These guys are fun.
And then our kicker, I'm happy and I'm sad. Riley Patterson, I miss you. Brandon McManus, I respect you. He's in his 10th season. They brought him in from Denver. Brandon McManus, punter Logan Cook, who people don't seem to understand is one of the best punters in the entire NFL, goes into his 6th season. And long snapper Ross Matisic in his 4th season. What are your thoughts about the specialist, PJ?
Jaguars have no problems with a kicking game. These guys are strong.
Yeah, love that. Short and to the point. Jacksonville Jaguars 53-man roster has been set. And to make a note here of the practice squad, the Jacksonville Jaguars did decide to bring some people back. They actually just made a move this morning, so let me look at this. So, let's see here. Blake Hance, offensive lineman, and Angelo Blackson, defensive lineman, have been signed to the active roster. Signed to the practice squad, Josh Peterson, Doug Peterson's son, was signed today to the practice squad as a tight end. And International Player Pathway Program practice squad exemption, Ayo Oyelola, safety, is on the team. And we also have Tommy Togiai, defensive lineman, signed to the practice squad. And we have Asazi Otomehu is on the team, a defensive lineman signed to the practice squad. Placed on reserve, Cooper Hodges and Davon Hamilton because they are injured. So They did bring up Blake Hance and Angela Blackson to take those spots. Sign more guys to the practice squad as well, PJ. So some good news coming out of Jacksonville, following some not great news, which, some guys getting injured. Also on the practice squad, offensive lineman Chandler Brewer, outside linebacker DJ Coleman, offensive lineman Coy Cronk, who was on the team last year, defensive lineman Deshaun Dixon, cornerback Eric Hallett II, linebacker Daquan Jackson, tight end Derek Parrish, quarterback Nathan Rourke, who you really like, is on the practice squad, offensive lineman Darrell Williams, wide receiver Seth Williams, cornerback Tavon Campbell, running back Snoop Connor, who they drafted last year, and wide receiver Jacob Harris. So what are your thoughts on these moves, PJ, including the ones that just came in with them activating one of their defensive linemen and offensive linemen, as well as signing a bunch of names that I'm going to love to hear you say during this season, if need be, and the fact that Josh Peterson, Doug's son, is still on the team and has been signed to the practice squad?
This is all right. I mean, I didn't get all the names that you got. I just got the ones that were signed before yesterday, I guess. Nathan Rourke, I love the guy. He's going to make a name for himself in this league. If it's not for Jacksonville, certainly not going to out. He's not going to maybe able to move T.J. Bedford out, but Nathan or Trevor Lawrence will be there forever. And Josh Peterson being signed by his dad, I thought that was a classy move. Knowing that he didn't make the 53 roster, but he was good enough to come and play on the 13-man roster, which is good. Snoop Connor, this guy's underrated. He can run, folks. If he ever gets back up to the first team, watch out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I was sad to see that he didn't make the roster, but, I know JaMychal Hasty's been working his tail off, and they brought in Tank Bigsby, and they obviously see something in Tank and saw something in him in the draft in order to go out there and spend a pick on him. So we'll see what happens from here. Very excited to see it. Very much looking forward to it. And I appreciate all of it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to have more to say. I'm going to have articles being written as well. So there'll be stuff coming up on that Jacksonville Jaguars content. But as always, PJ, I appreciate it. We ran the gamut. We talked Major League Baseball heading toward the postseason. We talked horse racing, then into college football, made our first picks of the season in week 1, and just broke down the entire Jacksonville Jaguars 53-man roster and gave you their practice squad. And PJ, in a not-too-distant future, is going to be saying these words to you: Asezi Otomehu, as well as Togiai. I cannot wait to hear you say these names, PJ.
I don't think so.
So that being said, Papa Joe, appreciate you as always. Thank you so much. And big time thanks to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think sometimes put people on the team just to test PJ and I and our ability to say their names. So thanks, PJ. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We'll take our final step aside, and we'll be back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to bring you my one-on-one conversation that is exclusive here to Wake Up Call, and a bonus Dolphin Dive episode with Callum Donnelly. Callum Donnelly, the head coach of the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer team, coming off of their first game as a Division I program, going on the road to Penn State to face off against the Nittany Lions. We'll talk about that and moving forward right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. Cicero, right in front of Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, here where sports meets life. Always all about under-promise, over-deliver. And when it comes to our coverage of the Lemoyne Dolphins, we do exactly that as we're here in year 3 of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. And the Lemoyne College Dolphins have made the move into Division I. It's officially official. We've gotten to see a bunch of teams compete, including the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer team, who had their first ever Division I game as a program on the road at Penn State against the Nittany Lions there in Pennsylvania in the Big Ten. And with that being said, Callum Donnelly, who did an exclusive with us after he was named the interim head coach, is back here with me today for this very special edition of Dolphin Dive as we discuss that first experience and being on the pitch in D1 moving forward. Callum, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, Dan. Good to be back. How are you?
Doing well, and I know that I told you off the air that ever since you and I spoke about your hometown of Edinburgh, it's shown up in TV shows and movies, and they'll show a scene and they'll go like right into the scene, and then it'll be like this beautiful landscape, and then in the corner it'll say Edinburgh, and I'm like, this is ridiculous how this is happening. So it's pretty cool.
I'm glad we're repping the big movies and stuff like that. So beautiful city, so recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I feel like I got to experience it a little bit on the big screen, and then hopefully I'll be able to experience it in real life since you've spoken so highly of it.
Absolutely. No, it'd be good, and I'll give you any recommendations where to go and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely, my overseas travel is hopefully going to be happening sooner than later in a good way. So with that being said, Callum Donnelly here in this edition of Dolphin Dive. Your team had its first ever game in Division I play, and that being at Penn State. What was the experience like? It's Big Ten, it's Penn State, it's history, obviously a very vibrant fan base and community. So what was that first experience like to go on the road and face off against Penn State?
Yeah, to be honest, it was obviously the result wasn't what we hoped for, but the whole experience was just incredible and really eye-opening to see a kind of different level of collegiate sports we haven't really seen. And no disrespect to Division II, but Penn State was just with the facilities and how big it is and how well supported it was, is probably something we haven't seen yet. So I like one memory already that sticks in my mind is like when we pulled up to State College, we were going to go for a walk right before we actually practiced on the training fields there, and we stopped right outside Beaver Stadium, and it's just this massive stadium, and I think it just hit everyone, even the players, of like, all right, this is who we're playing tomorrow. So and yeah, just the general facility and where we played, the pitch was beautiful, and it was obviously kind of an emotional day for us. But as I said, I'm proud of how our players, we worked ever so hard in the game, and I think just over the game that their quality showed, and they had some top level players that, some of them got drafted last year and come back for their 5th year. So that's the kind of caliber that we're trying to aim to compete with. But again, it was just a brilliant experience.
Despite the 4-0 loss on the road at Penn State, what did you learn in that game about your team? That, I mean, you can only do so many things to simulate and practice and go up against each other, but now that you have film against an opponent, what are you seeing from this team that you can build upon at this point?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is what I ask of any of the boys is just give absolutely everything and leave nothing on the pitch. I think that's the most important. And we said before, we knew it was going to be a really difficult task to go there and get a result, but all me and the other coaching staff asked the boys was to, regardless of what happens throughout the game, just stick together and stay as a team right to the very end. And I'm really proud of the boys for doing that. And that's what we did. And I think that's what we can do going forward. And I think it's going to give us an opportunity in some of these games as long as we continue to work hard and give our absolute everything. And that's all I can ask. And I think the bits of quality that I'm still looking for as a coach, technically and tactically, we're still getting there as a unit, but we're still, as I said, we're working hard every single day to try and get to that point.
What's been for you the best part of this team? From what you saw in practice and what you saw in this first initial game in Division I, what do you feel like you can kind of say has been a bright spot for this squad so far?
I think we've got a nice mix of youth and experience within the squad. I think it's like the younger boys that have come in have given us that sort of energy, and I think the older boys have given us the old heads on the shoulder that understand what it takes to compete. And I think the big thing is like we're all going into this kind of unknown, and it's not just us as a sport. It's women's soccer, it's all these other teams that are playing just now, volleyball and lacrosse are going to have it, basketball are going to have it, I think it's just such an unknown at the moment where you're kind of going into games not knowing what to expect, and it's kind of a difficult position for a coach to be in. But all I can really hope for is giving our absolute everything. But I think the preseason games we've had, and now we've played Penn State, I think we showed some moments within the games that make me really feel confident about this group going forward, and really feel that we can attack teams and go after the wins that we want to achieve throughout the year.
Speaking here with Callum Donnelly, the interim head coach for the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer team, as they have officially started play in Division I for the first time ever in the history of Lemoyne College and this men's soccer program. You said that there are some things from that game against Penn State that you can really hone in on to get like a little bit more specific, and obviously don't give up anything tactically, of course, but to look back at that game, that initial game, and say there are pieces that you can take out as a coach. What are some of those pieces that you're taking?
I think just our overall shape. I think defensively we were, we conceded 4 goals, but I think maybe before Penn State got the penalty, I think they were finding it hard to break us down, and I think there's still moments that we can be a bit more aggressive with our defending and step our line higher and try to win the ball back higher on the park. But I think when you're playing such a good team like Penn State, they make it difficult, they pin you back in, they make you defend in your own box at times, and then once you're in that state, it's hard to squeeze up the pitch. So I think those were a couple of the moments, and then I think going forward, I think we've got some lively guys up front. So I think whenever we win the ball, we look at times we were looking dangerous. And I think, as I said, as a coach, that's the areas that I'm trying to improve when we have possession of the ball. How can we look for weaknesses in the opposition? Where are they going to give us some opportunities? And I think, when you're coming up against a top team like Penn State, you're only going to get a couple moments within the game. And I just felt we were maybe a pass or two short of being where causing them some problems. And we had as I said, we had a couple of good opportunities, but I think overall, attacking wise, we can be better. But I'm happy with the effort, the energy that the guys put into the game, and all I ask of them is just to keep that going forward in every single match.
It's your first time ever that you're a head coach for a game, for a match. What did you learn about yourself as a head coach after this first game?
It was, I kind of took a little moment to sink in the day before. When I walked out on the facility, I was just there kind of sitting on my own, and I was just, obviously there was a bit of pride, and then I think once training started, that went away, and even once the game started, I was just there. It didn't feel too much different from being an assistant. Obviously, I have to be more prepared for making decisions, but I'm lucky I've got a really good staff alongside me that I can really trust, talk through the game with. I actually felt pretty calm throughout the game, which I didn't know if I was going to be or not. I didn't know how I was going to feel, because this was my first ever game really as a official Division 1 coach. But I felt pretty calm, and as I said, I've got to stay, and I told you this before, Dan, I've got to stay true to who I am, regardless if I'm the head coach, if I'm the assistant. I just have to be who I am as a person. I can't change, but just because a title has changed, I've went from an assistant to a head coach. I've got to just remain who I am. So, as I said, it was probably, overall, the experiences are shaping me into the coach I am, and I think I'm just learning every single day. I think there's things and I've told this to the boys, that I'm going to get wrong, I'm going to get sometimes right, but I'm new to this just as much as they are new to the Division 1 thing as well.
And you said you gave yourself the opportunity to kind of just, breathe it in and take a moment for yourself. When you did that, when you took that time alone, what went through your head, what went through your heart in that moment while you were kind of just experiencing this thing that's only going to happen once in your life, which is to be a head coach for a Division 1 program, or be a head coach in general of any program? This is your first. It will always be your first and your only. So how did you take that moment in?
Yeah, as I said, I just kind of walked on the pitch myself, and I just thought, I'll take a moment to myself, and I sat down on one of the chairs, and I was obviously you kind of think about all the tougher moments that you had going into this, and sometimes, and I think all coaches that listen to this a lot appreciate and understand, when you're maybe at the start of your coaching career, sometimes you're wondering, what are you doing this for? And I think that moment at Penn State, when I'm with all the team, we're having a good time, we're taking in the experience, and that's what it's about. It's about helping these guys with whatever they do, whether it's their classes, whether it's playing soccer, whether it's just getting to spend the time together. And I think that was just that. It was just being happy in the moment, and I just had to. I'm not too an emotional guy, so it was maybe for a minute or so, and then I had to get back to thinking about the game and thinking about what was best for the team. So, it was a good moment.
Yeah, and to be able to live in this moment and to experience that with the guys, obviously important. Coming off of the matchup, when you're on your way back home, what was the ride like? What was the conversation like? What was the message from you coming off of this game against Penn State?
Yeah, again, just a sense of pride. Obviously, I told them that there was moments in the game where I felt we could have been better, and I think they all agreed. But as I said, the only thing I really asked them before the game is just leave everything on the pitch, and we we make sure we enter and leave the pitch as a team. Nothing within that, nothing that happens in between that will change that. So the fact that we did that made me really proud, and I think just for the overall experience, and I think the guys were just taking it as a learning curve, with a team like Penn State and playing in such a big conference like the Big Ten. It's nothing like we've ever experienced before. So I think the guys were just taking that in, looking at the competition that they're up against, and also probably feeling a little bit of, what ifs. And I think that's sometimes a good thing when you get beat, is a learning experience. It's like, what could we have done better? What are the things that we should have maybe taken advantage of that we got? And what were the moments in the game where we could have been better with the ball and attacked them better? So I think there was a bit of that. There was a bit of chatter, but it was a good morale going on the way back. And again, we've just got to go into this matchup tomorrow against St. Peter's and have that energy that we had today or on Sunday, and that's all I can ask.
Yeah, and you brought up the game against St. Peter's. Here with Callum Donnelly, the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer head coach, here as we step forward into game number 2. You'll be at St. Peter's then after that, which is here on August 31st, Thursday, and then on Tuesday, September 5th at Lafayette, Tuesday, September 12th at Monmouth, before you come home for the first time. So the first moment that you'll be at home at Ted Grant Field is against Lindenwood. That was another D2 team that became Division I in recent history. And you'll have them on September 17th, Sunday at noon Eastern time. Starting your season with 4 games on the road, I know this is not atypical for Lemoyne with the move to Division I. Many programs are going to be playing a lot of games on the road that over the next couple seasons will come back home. But starting off knowing that you have 4 games on the road and 3 more before you come back home, just what you can say scheduling-wise about that and what the team can learn from it.
Yeah, so obviously it's really out of our control with us going Division I pretty late in the process. I think we knew when we were setting up the schedules that there was going to be a fair amount of away games, and I think the guys have already got their head around that. They understand that we've already been to RMU in Pittsburgh. We've been to obviously Cornell, just a short road up and then we've been to Penn State. So we've already had 3 away games, which I think has set us in a good motion of like, all right, this is what our life is going to be like this season. For the younger boys and the guys who've got another couple of years left, like the next year's schedule is going to be a lot easier on our travel. But again, I think what's nice, Dan, is that we're not just going to the same places that we've always been. This is a new experience for me. It's a new experience for the other coaches. It's a new experience for the players. So like every facility that we go to, we've never played that before. So I think there's a bit of excitement there about new pitches and new fields, new facilities that we're going to. And I think while it's tough, I think we just have to put a positive spin on things that, yeah, this is, it's exciting going to like Lafayette. I've just got a new couple $1 million facility that we're going to be playing on next week. So you've got to take the small positives, and then we're obviously looking forward to that first home game against Lindenwood, where then I think come that game, I think we've got 4 or 5 after that home games till the end of the season. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, once you get Lindenwood, you'll be home for back-to-back Sundays when you have Stonehill. And then we'll get to see you at home a bunch of times. Well, it's in October 15th, October 19th, and then on November 2nd. When you're on the road for this much, and like you said, you're going to see new venues and experience new things and whatnot, and that you've played good teams in the past, so this isn't atypical. But is there anything that you have to do mentally with this team when you are away from home, not too far, but when you're not playing in front of your fans on your field? Is there anything that you think you have to do uniquely with the guys to keep them focused?
I wouldn't say anything, and I think that's where the older leadership group comes into effect. I think they set the standards of the program, they set the culture, and I think what is nice about being all away is we're all together, we're always one, we're all doing the same things, where sometimes when you're at home, guys have classes, guys are doing their own thing before they come down to play. So I think there's a bit of that, and I think there's no messages that are needed from me. I think the guys understand that every single away game that we go to is going to be difficult in its own right. Just because Penn State are a Big Ten and a big program doesn't make this game on tomorrow any easier whatsoever. It's going to be just as difficult. It's going to be a totally different type of test. But every team has their home advantage. So I think that's what our older guys are bringing to the younger ones. Is sometimes I have to relay that message, but so far it's been good. I think the guys understand how difficult all these teams are going to be. There's no easy games in Division I. Absolutely not.
And athletics director at Lemoyne, Bob Beretta, spoke with me about the championship experience, that as you're transitioning, it's obviously something that's a learning curve, and each program, including the men's soccer program that you oversee, over time will continue to move forward and find their place. But as you're growing and learning through Division I, the championship experience side of things, if you could just speak to that. And, like you said, some of these facilities you're going to, you mentioned obviously what it was like to be at Penn State and see Beaver Stadium, just what it does for the student athletes and for your coaching staff and for the fans to be able to have some of the games you're having against some of the teams that you're going up against, as far as level of talent, as far as history, as well as some of the venues that you'll have.
Yeah, I think it just broadens all of our horizons with understanding how when these guys go off into the working world, they're going to see different things, and I think they're going to come up against different types of whenever they're going for job interviews, they're going to be coming up against some brilliant candidates, and it's kind of similar when you come up against a team like Penn State, where they've got all these fantastic athletes, and how do you beat a team that's extremely talented? And these are the little things that the guys are constantly going to have going through the year, and even me as part of the coaching team here at men's soccer is we have to always be on top of our game. We have to be watching so much film. We have to analyze all our games. How can we improve? How can we exploit the weaknesses of the other team? You just have to be so sharp, because as I said, the level of these teams are so good. But it's such a good experience, and it's such a good eye opener for all of our players and staff that we're able to see this.
How excited are you now that it's all back? I mean, Division I, Division II, whatever it may be, the fact that you're back on the pitch, the fact that it's a real thing, and you can practice as much as you want, train as much as you want, watch as much film as you possibly can, but to be back on the field and for it to be obviously counting in the win-loss column and to have just soccer back for you, just what that does for you as a former player and now as a coach, to be on the pitch and have the season not be a couple months away, but right now in this moment.
Honestly, Dan, I don't think it's sunk in. But I think because pre-season we had 7 or 8 days till our first game, and pre-season for soccer is always really short. It's normally about 2 weeks. So I think once we got our first game against Herkimer, we were then playing Robert Morris, and then we quickly turned around to Cornell, and then there was a quick turnaround to Penn State. So it's it feels amazing to be back, but I don't think it's sunk in that we've fully started yet. It's I still feel like we're still in terms of what we want to achieve as a staff with the group, and I think the group also agrees that we still have ways that we want to get. However, we're continuing to work hard every single day, and all we can do is focus on it every day. And I really feel come end of the season that we're going to see a team that looks more like how me and the other coaches want it to look. And with that, hopefully we can go on and really compete and take the games to some of these teams that we're playing. But it's brilliant to be back. It's fantastic. It's a busy time, obviously, but I wouldn't change that for the world.
Coming from Callum Donnelly, Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer head coach, and here with us following their first official game that counted at Penn State, and a bunch of games coming up at St. Peter's, at Lafayette, and at Monmouth before they head home for their first home match as a Division I program against Lindenwood on September 17th, a Sunday at noon Eastern Time on Ted Grant Field. Callum, as always, I appreciate it. I thank you so much. And to all the algorithms out there, keep showing us Edinburgh. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dan. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to our next chat.
Coming once again from Callum Donnelly, the interim head coach for the Lemoyne Dolphins men's soccer program, who will be on the pitch today, this afternoon, against St. Peter's on the road in New Jersey. I'll be sharing all the links on how you can watch the game, so make sure that you do so and support the Lemoyne Dolphins. The women's soccer team will be just an hour away in Binghamton in another opportunity to form a rivalry inside of the state of New York. So excited about seeing that as well, and definitely looking forward to both of these games that'll be happening today. So as we take a look at this, just so you all have it here and have all the information for you, as we take a look at the soccer schedule on the men's side of things, they will be starting off at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The live feed will start just a little bit before that. You can go to LeMoyneDolphins.com for more information, and you can watch this game on stpeterspeacocks.com starting at 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time today. That is Lemoyne in their second men's soccer game of their first ever Division I season. That'll be happening at St. Peter's today at 4 p.m. Eastern Time in Jersey City, New Jersey. If you'd like to watch the women's soccer game, that game is going to be going on today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time in Vestal, New York. And I'm checking right now to see if Binghamton is going to allow this to be shown. So I'm taking a look here, and it'll be on ESPN Plus if you want to watch the women's soccer game of Lemoyne at Binghamton today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you check that out as well. With that being said, we thank you for being with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com as well as Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So make sure you check that out. And, of course, you could search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube, all by going to any one of these apps and searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big time thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Great Lakes Honda City, Chick-fil-A Watertown, 317 at Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant. Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, PB&J's Lunchbox, Pizza Man, GG Cards and Breaks, which I want to spend a second here talking with you about how cool GG Cards and Breaks truly is and why you should be going there.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, the premier shop for all your sports card needs. They have baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, as well as Team USA, Pokemon, and more. You can get all of that, including all your top loaders, your sleeves, any of the things, your binders, your sheets. So it's not just getting the cards, it's all of the things that you need around the sports card world that you can buy there as well. All of your sports card protection equipment. You can get singles as well as graded cards, boxes, and packs. And they have every Major League Baseball, every NFL, and every NBA team that you can sift through each of your team boxes. And they're not just base cards. They're rookie cards, they're inserts, they're autographs, they're patch cards. There's a lot of great stuff in all of these boxes. I've been through a bunch of them. Make sure you check them out today. GG Cards and Breaks open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sundays from 10 to 5 on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Avenue. The sports card shop to continue your hobby, that same hobby we love, with new memories to make. The Lemoyne College Dolphins are proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can check out AD and DT the first and third Wednesday of each month with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, you'll check out the Dolphin Dive, and like you did yesterday and like you did today, because we underpromise and overdeliver. The Dolphin Dive comes to you every second and fourth Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And like I said, under promise, over deliver. We promise you Wednesdays at 9. You get a lot more than that throughout the year, including the bonus broadcast of Dolphin Dive we had today with Callum Donnelly of Lemoyne Men's Soccer, their interim head coach, as they get ready for their second game. And they'll be on the pitch today at St. Peter's at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check out all of our Dolphin content by going to Lemoyne, by going to our youtube.com/wakeupcalldt tab. And of course, you can check out the Lemoyne Dolphins at lemoynedolphins.com. So make sure you do that. Thank you so much for connecting with us, and we appreciate you so very much. And with that being said, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse come to you every single month in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bobcats right there on James Street. You can check them out in Syracuse, New York, right outside of downtown. Definitely appreciate having the Bobcats with us, giving you unfiltered access to their men's and women's soccer team, men's and women's basketball, as well as to baseball, esports, and more. The Bobcats come to you every single month with student athletes, coaches, and administration joining me throughout the year to tell their stories in a unique way, because Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse is a truly unique place. And you can find all of it by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And of course, for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. As always, go Bobcats. The Alfred University Saxons come to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as exclusive multimedia marketing partners. The Saxons have Monday as Saxon time. Monday is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We feature your Saxons every single month, and as well, we underpromise, overdeliver here with the Alfred University Saxons. They took over the show last week. We promise you one Saxon spotlight or presidential perspective a week. You had 12 Saxon spotlights last week with the football team representatives leading into their season. The presidential perspective with President Mark Zupan of Alfred University comes to you every first and third Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and the second and fourth Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You'll find the Saxon Spotlight with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni. For all of our Saxon content, go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and click subscribe. And for more information on your Saxons, go to gosaxons.com. As the site tells you, go Saxons. With that being said here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I hope you have a wonderful day. I want to thank Papa Joe for running the gamut with me, and Caleb Donnelly for joining me for another Lemoyne Men's Soccer exclusive and a bonus Dolphin Dive. We hope you have a fantastic day. Find me on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X, which I love that it's called that, at Call DT, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. For Papa Joe, for Callum, for myself, thank you all for tuning in. Go to Mon Paz and Spud Shack at the New York State Fair. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. They're fantastic, and they provide a fair experience all year long with their incredible snacks. They are the snack capital, in my opinion. So get out to Mon Paz and Spud Shack today at the fair. Have a great day. Be safe. God bless. No stress. Do your best. And welcome back